checking out some of these bushes in the pivots. I'm just starting to strip it down. We've got a bush in here, another one here, another bush there, and there'll be some more bushes in here. Got these links stripped down, starting to clean the bushes up. I found a couple of faults. Just taken 2 grease nipples out. There's one taken out of there, and found that whoever put this bronze bush in didn't line the grease hole up with the grease nipple, so the grease can't actually get through. And the same with this bush in here. This is a plastic bush which is completely worn out, and that the hole in that bush hasn't been lined up with the grease nipple. Also, this tube here that's welded on to protect the grease nipple, there should be one here, and that piece of tube was broken off, so I'll weld another piece on there. Even though this bronze bush hasn't had any grease into it from this grease nipple, it's not too bad. These are steel bushes in here, and that's greased from a grease nipple which is in the end of the pin, and they're okay. That's okay, surprisingly. This one needs replacing. These are the links and pins off the end of the dipper arm. This plastic bush in the end of this link is the same size and type as the one that's worn out on the end of the dipper arm, and the hole in this bush does line up with the grease nipple. The bronze bush on the end of the ram on the dipper arm that hadn't got its hole lined up with the grease nipple fits around the pin here, so that the bush that fits around there is the one that couldn't get any grease because the hole was in the wrong place. But this pin does have a grease nipple in the end of it, and the grease comes out of these 2 holes. But those 2 holes are for greasing these 2 bushes. So I suppose this bush, middle one, was getting a bit of grease from the sides. But I don't think this grease nipple had been used much, because that hole there was full of dirt. And the same with the grease nipple in this pin. This hole was caked full of mud. You can see it's not had much grease. It's not worn. I bought 2 new bucket pins to replace these 2. These aren't completely worn out, but they were a bit floppy. I've also got a couple of new bushes. This one will go in the end of the dipper arm. I'll keep that one as a spare. That one would replace this one, but that's okay. So that'll be a spare one. Just pressing the old bush out of the end of the dipper arm, Got a threaded rod through there, the spacer tube, so I'll be pulling the bush which is inside here, pulling it into the spacer tube, and then I'll press this one in. I've got the bush out. That's the old bush. The hole in it didn't line up with the grease nipple, but looking at it now, there's a groove all round the bush. It's full of crap. So really the hole didn't need to be in line with the grease nipple. It's just that that groove has got full of crap, stopped the grease going round. That's the old bush. Just checking the size of it. That's 38mm. Yeah, 38.1. And the new one that's 38.3. Not sure what they're made of. I think it's some sort of nylon. Yeah, 38.35. So that's going to take a bit of pressing in. It must have to compress a bit. Before I fit the new bush in, I'm going to replace the short tube that's broken off here. So I'll grind these welds off and weld another piece of tube on to protect the grease nipple. Like this one. You can see how the bottom of that one's worn, but it still protects the grease nipple. Got a short piece of tube welded back on. I've actually used a piece of stainless steel. Also cleaned this port out. So now I'll get the new bush pressed in. That's the new bush fitted. That's a nice snug fit for the new pin. Also put a new grease nipple in. Put a new grease nipple in there as well. And I've drilled a small hole through the bush to let the grease through. That's the bush that didn't have a hole in line with the grease nipple. That's the bucket tipping link all fitted back. That's ready for the bucket to be fitted. It's all greased up. That's the new plastic bush. That's the original one. A couple of new bolts. That's the bucket fitted. 2 new bucket pins.